William here. In this video we're looking at major, minor, and diminished chords. If you've not checked out my video on chords, be sure to check that out. I'm going to simplify this as much as possible. So what you need to know is that in every key that you play, for example, the scale of C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. There's always 3 major chords, there's 3 minor chords, and there's 1 diminished chord that you play in every major scale that you play. So chord number 1 is a major chord. Chord number 4 is a major chord. Number 5 is a major chord. Number 2, number 3, and number 6, they are minor chords. And number 7 is a diminished chord. So 1, 4, 5, they are major chords. 2, 3, and 6, minor chords. 7, diminished chord. What forms a major chord? Let me tell you about tones and semitones. A tone is moving 2 semitones. And what is a semitone? 2 closest keys is what a semitone is. So if I move from here to here, it's a semitone. If I move from here to here, it's a semitone. If I move from here to here, it's a semitone. When you move 2 semitones, which is 1, 2, okay, which forms this, that is a tone. In other places, it's called a step and a half step. So a semitone or a half step, a semitone or a half step, and that is a tone or a step. In order to form a major chord, okay, you have the first key, which is the main chord you want to play. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps, then 1, 2, 3 half steps. So it's 4 half steps and 3 half steps for every major chord you want to play. So for example, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So there's 3 keys in between the first and the second, and there's 2 keys in between the second note you play and the third note you play. Okay, so this. Another way is to use the scale to teach you this, okay? Another way would be to use a scale to teach you this. But if I use a scale, that means if you want to play any other chord, that means you have to learn the scale for that before you can know the major and minor chords. But I don't want to do that because, for example, I could say, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that means the 1, the 3, and the 5 is the major chord. Okay, it's the C chord. But let's look at it in another form. Okay, let's look at it in another form, in this form, which is there's always 3 notes in between the first and second. There's 2 notes in between the second and the third. Applying this method, let's say I want to play a chord, a major chord on this key. That means 1, 1, 2, 3. The next 1, 2. This. So this is the major chord for E flat. This is E flat major. If I want to play a major chord on B flat, which is this, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So it becomes this. With this idea, it becomes so much easier. Okay, when you practice it a lot more, it becomes a lot easier for you. Now, which one is the minor chord? The minor chord is just switching it around. When you're switching it around, it means instead of 3 and 2, it becomes 2 and 3. So for example, if this is the major, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, the minor becomes this. That means 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this becomes the minor. Now looking at this idea, tell me, what is this one? You realize that this is a minor chord because it has 1, 2 in between the first and second. it has 1, 2, 3 in between the second and the third. That becomes your minor chord. So major, minor because 1, 2, minor because 1, 2, major because 1, 2, 3, minor because 1, 2, minor because 1, 2. Now look at this. 1, 2, and yet also 1, 2. This is where the diminished chord comes in. Your last chord, the seventh, is always a diminished chord. The seventh always has 2, 2 in between it. That's always the diminished chord. So for example, let's try with the scale of F. Major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. 1, 2, 1, 2. That's the diminished chord. So it's as simple as that. And like I said at some point in the video, you will notice that this becomes the 1, 3, and 5. Okay? This becomes the 2, 4, and 6. Okay? Major chord. So this, in another video, we are going to talk about how the scale is formed. Okay? And we'll talk more about how the scales come about. But basically, one of the ideas is that it's also based on this major, minor, and diminished chord idea. Hopefully you learned something from this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.